So, welcome everybody. My name is Marty Mascari. For those of you that have not joined us before, I am a contractor under the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging and the North Central Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC, both of which are under the umbrella of the North Central Texas Council of Governments in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. In case any of you are joining us from outside the state, I know yesterday we had 4 or 5 people from outside the country. But we're in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, and we are very blessed to have Jason Taylor, who is a tech specialist, and he works with a company that contracts with HHSC, and then Kelley Kaiser, who's with United Way of Tarrant County. And both of them will tell you a little more about themselves as we get going. But before we get started, I want to go over the information about, for those of you that are joining us for CEUs. So let me advance the slide one. Let me do that. There we go. For those of you that are joining us to obtain CEUs or certificate of attendance, we are set up today to provide CEUs for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors within the state of Texas. If you have a different license in Texas or a license outside of Texas, you're more than welcome to go through the process and obtain a certificate and submit that to your jurisdiction. But just please know there's no guarantee that they will take them, and there's nothing I can do to help you if they don't. We're just set up in Texas. I will tell you that before I've had people, I've submitted to jurisdictions, and then I've gotten email from the jurisdiction just wanting some more information about what was presented during the webinar, so they could figure it out if qualified. And you're more than welcome to have me do that, have them do that if they would ask for that. We're also offering certificates of attendance. They're all complimentary, but there's rules. Today's webinars worth 1.5 hours of CEU credits. You must attend the entire live webinar and the Q&A to qualify. And I understand that sometimes there's a lot of questions and we might go over, but you're only required to stick with us for the amount of time until 11:30, the amount of time we've posted. I understand you have other commitments and that type of thing. You must also complete the Google evaluation survey. We ask everyone to complete that, but if you want any kind of certificate, you're required to do that. But all the information, that's where we collect the information to know what you're looking for in a certificate and where to email it and that kind of thing. So please, you have to fill out the Google survey. It will pop up as you close out of Zoom today. It will ask you if you'd like to take a short survey, or if that doesn't pop up for you, that link will be in the follow-up email that I send out to everybody that actually tuned in today. So you can look for it either way. Please, there's 1 week to complete that. Please do it by the end of the day on the 18th, and give me about 4 weeks to get those certificates out to you. If you have any questions, you can email me. So that being said, I want to turn it over to you, Jason, and I'm going to give you some control here. You should have remote control now, Jason, and I'll let you take it from here.
All right. How's everybody doing today? So about me, I've been doing this job for this current company. It's actually Sorenson Communications. So the company is a state contractor to provide support services for the deaf and hard of hearing communities in the Fort Worth area. It's not just Fort Worth area, we go by counties. So I'll show that in a minute. So what I do is go out in the community to do outreaching, make new connections to help clients that have hearing loss, and to provide every resource I can to help them have communication access, whether it's through technology like closed captioning or how to find a sign language interpreter. I can do that. assistive technology like hearing aids or assistive listening technology. So I do all kinds of different things out there. And about me, so I was born as a premature baby. I was about 2 pounds and 9 ounces. I was very tiny. And I stayed in a hospital for 2 additional months because I was fighting for my life. And at that time, they didn't do newborn screening, hearing screening, like they do today. So I missed the first 3 years of information, understanding, communication until they figured out what was wrong with me about the third year. So I started wearing hearing aids. And then they found a school that had support systems in place where I can learn sign language, teachers that knew sign language, and when I go to different classes, I could have that interpreter with me in those classes wherever I went, all the way through high school. And in addition to that, I had speech and auditory training all through those years. So um, I'm very blessed and fortunate to have that support system in place. And a lot of these younger generation, they have that in the areas that's like heavily populated, like Dallas Fort Worth area. But in the rural areas, a little challenging. So this is where I can actually help them, like students in school, to find those resources or teachers. So it's not just out there, but here in the area too. Um, so I've been doing this job for about 8 months in this company, but prior to that, I was in another company in Austin serving like 29 counties, which is a much larger territory, and did that for about 2.5 years. So with my personal experiences and professional experiences, I put those together and share that with everyone that I talk to. So let's move on to the next slide. Let's see if I can do an arrow. No, there. So here, for those who are in the Region 3, HHS Region 3, that's where I'm at. And if you get the slide later on, the link is embedded, so you can click on that. It'll take you to the regions there. And also, in this area, we are split about half of that. I am the Region 3B as a boy, and that's about 10 counties, and the other contractor would serves the 3A. Now, I live on the 3A side, but I serve on the opposite side. So these are the counties, as you see. Cook all the way down to Wise is all the areas that I can serve to help people. So today we're going to talk about what are the 5 things you can do to improve your hearing health. And the first one is, and most common thing that most people do, is crank up that loud TV or radio or those little podcast radio, and they listen to the earbuds or headset. That is very dangerous because if you wear those devices for long periods of time in a higher sound, that can wear down your hearing. And over time, those hair cells, each ear we have about, if I remember correctly, we have about 50,000 little hair cells working hard to filter those sounds all the way to the auditory memory. And over time, if we're not careful with that, that does not restore hearing. Like other organs, like the liver, if you cut part of that liver, it grows. Well, our hearing doesn't grow anymore. So once it's damaged, that's it. So a lot of these noises can be preventable. So if you are in a work area like construction or in a workshop like aircraft mechanic, anything that's a loud environment, work environment, be sure to be wear those protective ear muffs. And that's where I can go out to your workplace to do an assessment where I can see everything and evaluate and give recommendations how to protect your hearing and or if you are having hearing loss, if you have hearing loss, where I can actually look at different types of technology devices to help you understand communication. Exercising does give a benefit to everyone. And it also increases blood flow to the ear and the hair cells that receive the electrical impulses from the outside world. Again, I mentioned a while ago, the hair cells do not regenerate. So also medications, if you are taking medications, it can have a side effect to hearing loss. If you are smoking, that can cause hearing loss because it does restrict the blood vessels for the blood to go through the inner ear and the cochlea. So if you don't know what the cochlea is, it's like a seashell shaped cochlea that goes around in a circle. So the sounds start from the outer ear, goes in the inner ear into the cochlea, and it goes all the way into the center. Now, I don't think I have a slide of what the cochlea looks like. Perhaps on the next presentation, I can do that. And then I also recommend scheduling a hearing evaluation. So one of the ways you can do it is one, you can go to like Sam's Club, Costco, Connect Hearing, Livingston Hearing Center, and Hearing Aid Express. Those are the places that you could actually get a free hearing test. If you go to an audiologist, that usually works with an ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat doctor, they take insurance or private pay. And that usually you have to pay for that. Now, if you go to other places, like I mentioned, those are not audiologists. They may have an audiologist there, but a lot of them are like a certified hearing instrument specialist. So there's two different jobs, but they do very similar things. They can fit for a hearing aid. They can do a hearing evaluation. The audiologist can do a lot more than what the specialist can. And I also have a link here. It says find a trusted local hearing clinic. You can click there, hit a healthy hearing. And not just that link, but you can go to other places to find or call them and ask them if they provide a hearing test. And also you can talk to me, your local deaf and hard of hearing technologist specialist. Now, I'm not the only one here in the state. There are, as you saw the state map, there are other resource specialists in that area that can help you if you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Other areas could help you. There may be some regions that do not actually have one. But regardless of that, I can help you or someone else there can help you. So we can help each other out. So for most of us, there is a contractor out there that can serve. So if you have a diagnosed with hearing loss, one of the areas that I recommend is looking for a support group. And that is the Hearing Loss Association of America. They have chapters across the nation, and there's actually one here in Fort Worth. Excuse me. And there's also one in Dallas that trying to get that relaunched. If you're in the Austin area, I believe they still have one, a support group, and there's also one in Houston. So again, there are support groups around. And now outside of HLAA, they have other support groups like the cochlear implant support group. So if you are wearing one or if you know someone that has a cochlear implant, there is an organization called the Dallas Hearing Foundation. And they meet like once a month on a Tuesday, I think the second Tuesday of each month, at a medical center in Dallas. I think it's called the Medical City Heart Hospital off of Central Express 75. And they just have that support group, and they sometimes have vendors like tables to provide resources there. So there's lots of resources out there available. So I can understand it's very overwhelming don't know where to turn to. A lot of the common things I hear from people when they wear hearing aids for the first time is putting hearing aids on can be very, very overwhelming, and that's true. And because they're not used to it, number one. Number two, they have to train their auditory memory in the brain to get used to those sounds that may not have heard in a long time. Number three is the certain sounds like high frequency sounds can be very overwhelming. And I recommend when you see it, and like a specialist, you tell them to drop down some of that background noise or the microphone, because we have two microphones, one's in the front, one's in the back. So the back can be reduced to where you can tolerate your environmental sounds. So also most hearing aids, even over-the-counter hearing aids, do have an app you can download on your phone, and you have some controls there. But sometimes that's just not enough. You have to see the specialist to fine tune those frequencies to be able to tolerate your environmental sounds. And that's important to hear around you, but what's more important is understanding communication back and forth with your people. And and that's part of the communication strategies that I tell people all the time. When you are talking to people, make sure your environmental sounds are very quiet, or in that place where you can leave or go into a corner where it's more tolerable, where you can actually hear one another. See, next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the hearing technology. So hearing aids, cochlear implants, and bone anchored hearing aid, or BAHA. So as you know, hearing aids do have different shapes, size, colors, and then they try to make it attractive to each individual that are wearing hearing aids, because, you know, back in the old days, hearing aids used to look very bulky and ugly, and that one color. Well, these hearing aid companies are getting very creative to where, why not add colors that match your personality, um, or the size of the hearing aid. Like as you can see in the picture, like the red one in the middle, it shows the that's like a in the canal hearing aid, which is like a shell, which is actually a shaped formed what's in your ear canal. So how they do that is, if you had if you are wearing a hearing aid, you have, like, I could show you, I have an ear mold. This is the ear mold right here, and this is shaped to my ear. So you'll get an ear mold, then they send it to the lab to harden that. And then they perfect it to the type of hearing aid that you need or want, or what's being recommended by that specialist or the audiologist. And then you have other types of hearing aids, depending on the manufacturer. That comes with gray colors, brown. Looks like one of them shows like a rectangular type of hearing aid. So they come different sizes, shapes, like big ones. The bigger ones actually serves all types of hearing losses, which is called the behind the ear, which is what I have. And then there are other types of hearing aids that are called, like, in the canal, the like open ear, or behind a receiver in the canal. The receiver in the canal is similar to behind the hearing aid, the one I have. The receiver in the canal is like they have an external device that goes inside your ear. It's the receiver. So typically behind the ear has a receiver inside the hearing aid, but the receiver is outside. That's not in the hearing aid. So those are most popular for most people, and a lot of them come with like a silicone shaped, um, not an ear mold, a dome, and it goes in your ear. And I used to wear those before, and I don't typically like those, because over time the wax get in there and it itches my ear. So That's why I recommend getting the ear mold, because it fits just perfect, and also it doesn't provide feedback. Because sometimes when you wear the dome, you hear that hearing aid giving that feedback. So ear molds are actually better. They're a better comfort. Cochlear implant. So I have one as well. So as you can see, maybe I should turn off the blur. Is that better? So this is the coil, and this is the processor. So this is like a hearing aid, but this attaches to the inside implant, which you see in the picture, that coil. That is a magnet that connects together, and that's how I'm able to hear. Works very well. And these are over-the-counter hearing aids. So basically what this is a hearing aid. The difference between a prescription hearing aids, when you go see a specialist and you pay good money for that. The OTC hearing aids are like off the retail shelf, Walmart, CVS, and you pay as low as $100 to even several $100s. And they do give you some adjustments here and there. You can see a specialist and they can give you a little bit of adjustment, but not like detailed adjustment. So those are only for people who have mild to moderate hearing losses. When you see a specialist and you pay good money, that's for any type of hearing loss. But if you want to go this route first, that's fine. But then if you are losing hearing over time, this is when you need to see a specialist and pay, and they fine tune the frequencies for your hearing aids. I guess I didn't show the Baja. That's the one that's missing. The Baja is kind of like, let me go back. It's kind of like the Cochlear. The Baja is more of, it actually kind of fits behind the ear where they put an implant in. It's not the magnetic one. It's like a snap-on. They snap it on and you put it behind your ear and it transmits through the bone. And that's how they can actually hear. And that's for people who cannot get a cochlear implant. Yeah. And the next slide is showing this is not all inclusive of the resource guide. I have more detailed ones. So if we do one-on-ones, I'll actually give you a whole lot more. But on here, this is just give you a few ideas of like organizations where you go to find not only support groups, but resources. The Hearing Loss Association of America is a national organization that helps people with hearing loss, and they push for legislation for change. They are a huge advocacy organization, and they talk to Congress about this and that. They're the one that pushed for the over-the-counter hearing aids. Now, they're also a huge advocate for other things like Loop America, the hearing loops, and I can explain more on that at another time, or I could do it here. In there, and I mentioned there's a Fort Worth chapter here, Hearing Loss Association of America. They have a Fort Worth chapter. And then I did mention that there's a Dallas Hearing Foundation, and they have resources there, and it's backed by professional medical doctors that founded this organization that specialize in cochlear implants. And then I mentioned the over-the-counter hearing aids. The Hearing Loss Association America has been giving webinars. It's free. You can listen to those on their on their link that I provided there. Let's see if I have another slide. Now, how to find resources. Again, there are so many different resources out there. It's endless pretty much. And again, some people are investigators. They can find and do it themselves, but a lot of them are not. And that's where I'm here. I'm here to give you all the resources I can find. And if I don't have the answer to your question yet, I will go to my peers in the community, find answers, and give it and come back to you with that answer. So yes, I'm an expert, but I may not have every single answer. So again, resources are important, and just basically streamlining them and giving those to you based on what you need, what questions that you are asking, and I find that particular resource to give you. Let me zoom out the screen here. Actually, I'm gonna move it over to the right, because I have two different screens here, so I can make it bigger. So these different resources, so if you are in a different area, not Texas, so, you know, like California Department of Social Services, and I gave you some links there, so if you're out there, just start there. If you're in Florida, in all these different areas. So I'm just trying to be a little nice here to give you the resources in that area. Or if you know someone that is in the area that need help related to hearing loss, you can go to that and hopefully they will help you. Again, this is what I do. I love what I'm doing. I help people all the time. And I think this is the last slide. Let me check. Oh, yeah, that's my last slide. So if you have questions, ask me. I believe I'll turn it over to Kelley
Hold on,
or Marty.
Real quick. First of all, if you guys have any questions, if you would please put them in the Q&A. I should have said that earlier. It just is a lot easier to access questions and not have to filter through the chat to find them. It just allows us to be more efficient. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We've still got about 10 more minutes. Would you like me to pull up one of the other set of slides for you, Jason, or do you want to just turn it over to Kelley?
I could do the that video I mentioned. What is like to read lips? Because
Okay,
we
so
all think we're a perfect lip reader. We're not.
Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to have to give you permission to share your screen. Okay.
Let's see here. Share my screen.
So I just gave you permission. You should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, I'm looking for this.
And Anatha, as he's getting ready, I see that your hands up. Being that we got like 80 people on, it's just too hard to open up the mics. So if you have a question or you have a comment, please put that in the Q&A or the chat. But if it's a question, please put it in the Q&A. But I see your hands up, and I just want to kind of direct you to those because that's where we'll collect information to help you.
And Marty, there is actually a question in the chat also, so, or in the Q&A.
In the Q&A, okay, yeah, I see.
I don't see the share option on here. I'm looking at every button that I have. Oh, here it is.
It should be a green with
overlooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
And then you can start this over. Let me know if you can hear it or not.
Okay, I'm not hearing it, but if
You're not?
you go in, I'm not. There's an ellipsis at the bottom.
Oh, here, hold on 1 second. What happened here? If you're not able to hear, let me keep playing it, and I'm gonna see if I change the setting in my sound settings.
Well, if you go into, there's an ellipsis at the bottom with 3 dots. It should say share computer audio.
Hold on. I can't hear you and you. What were you saying, Marty?
I'm sorry. There's an ellipsis at the bottom that you should be able to open up, and it should say share computer audio.
Okay. Let me find it. Share sound here.
There you go.
So when I was really young,
You hear it?
probably kindergarten
Yeah.
or first grade, I have a much older brother, and we'd go out to recess, and there was this older guy, he might have been in like 5th or 6th grade, that always used to pick on us, and I didn't really know what to do about it, and I definitely looked up and completely trusted what my brother did.
Today we went to a high school and I pet and held many different animals.
I was posing for a picture with all of my girlfriends when all of a sudden one of them reached over.
Can you read my lips?
Can you read my
lips.
Can you read?
Can you read my lips? Can you read her lips?
My God, Clementine loves bread. She stole a loaf off the counter.
Can you read his
I
lips?
have 2 dogs, one boxer, she's 7.5, and one mixed breed who's 8.
I am deaf, but my word. What the is a hearing one? I rely on the visual, not the auditory. The word lip reading implies reading, like reading a book
whose text is legible and clear.
But the human face isn't a book, and lip reading isn't reading. People mumble, people talk fast and laugh loudly, people have facial hair like porcupines, lips like sphincters, people cover their mouths, people have accents. But real conversations don't take place in the studio.
Growing up, I used to...
I'm putting together a puzzle without all the pieces. I lock in on your mouth. I try to grasp with one sense information intended for another. There have been times when I've questioned why I even tried to read, to wade through the swamp, when I could just use sign language. Some deaf people choose to do just that. It's like a different world. A world filled with rich expression and culture. When people sound, they come alive. But I know I want both worlds. Communication is never a given.
Tuesday, I woke up, had a
And
rash.
she just pulled my dress down and
When I was little, my family got a
I was
cat.
like, why don't you just hit him in the face?
held
That
a
was like the last thing that I ever
guinea
looked
pig.
Last winter I
and
learned
two
how to
different
ski. I only cried twice.
But when the reading works, when I focus on one legible face and launch into a conversation, something clicks. Right then, I feel something extraordinary.
There's my
implies reading connection.
connection.
So I'm gonna stop sharing. Let's see.
That was very good. That was very
Oh, this one.
eye-opening.
There we go. Go ahead.
That was very, very good stuff. That was very, very eye-opening. There are a few questions in the Q&A. I don't know if you want to address those at this time or you want to wait till after Kelley's done.
We can wait, or you can ask, but I don't want to run over her time.
No, that's all right. We still have a couple of minutes actually before. Are the refurbished ear aids okay to use? Someone asked.
I don't get that question very often, but I've heard about that. So I always would say go to the audiologist or hearing dispenser and ask them, can these work? Always ask them, don't just put it on. Because number one, that's fitted for that individual initially. And you don't want to put something on that's not fitted for you if you need to wear it. So I always would say, go to the medical professional, the audiologist or dispenser, and let them look into that and see if it's in good condition, if it's working, and they'll want to test your hearing first to see where it's at, and then to see if that current hearing aids could actually work for you or not.
Very good. Someone else has, and these two both were anonymous, but can you tell me about and it's I'm a sensor neural hearing loss? Is that right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Sensor neural, yeah. It sounds
Is
a
this
little,
able to be corrected?
I have a hard time saying certain words, but sensor neural, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, there you go.
What was that question again?
Yeah, is can you tell her about that? And can it be corrected with hearing aids?
Well, there are three types of hearing losses. One is conductive. One is it's been a while. Because there's conductive and there's a mix, and I'm trying to remember the other one. So basically, to be corrected with hearing aids, you would need to see the specialist. That's the way to do it. There's no guessing up from this. You need to see a specialist to know where you are. Because I have a slide that I could show you or send you an email. So if you want to reach out later, you can, and I can go in more detail of the actual audiogram, and it's shaped like in frequencies, hertz, and decibels, and I have it shows different pictures to see, and it tells you like perfect hearing, mild, moderate, severe, and profound, and to kind of give you an idea. I even had my own audiogram that I could share as well.
Great. Well, and you will see in the follow-up email, I also will have the information to contact Kelley or Jason,
Okay.
and I include that in the follow-up email as well. And you're more than welcome to email me with that kind of thing, and I will pass it on to them. And
Awesome.
so I think before we well, there's one more question here. Let me get to it for G. Murray. It's what would cause the hairs in the ear are ears you mentioned to die? Is that right? The hairs in the ear that die? Is that correct?
Well, they get damaged. So when the sounds still go through that cochlea. So over time, when the hair cells get damaged, the sound still goes through, but it's not filtering properly. And that's why we're going, what? Huh? We're not, can you say that again? We're starting to miss sounds because the higher frequencies is usually that first to go. Like some women's voices are very high pitched and males' voices are lower. So most common people say, I can't hear a woman's voice versus a guy, you know. So or it doesn't have to be voices, it could be leaves rustling, birds chirping. If you're not hearing those are signs of hearing losses. And they just get damaged. Another way, yeah, I guess you could say they do die off, but they're damaged and they do not get regenerated. Now, there are some clinical research out there, like they do test in mice, and they're doing some special injections to see if they can actually restore hearing. Well, those are very short studies, and they seem to have showed that, but those are just, just for clinical trials on mice.
Okay, so I'm going to reshare. And then Kelly, I'm going to give you the remote control if I can. And we're going to turn over to Kelly for the next part. Kelly Kaiser's with the United Way of Tarrant County and the Tarrant County Aging and Disability Resource Center. But Kelly, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Marty, and thank you, Jason, for all the information. I am Kelley Kaiser. I have been, let me go and advance my slides here. I am actually a housing navigator with the Aging and Disability Resource Center, but I work under the, oops, sorry. I work under the United Way of Tarrant County in the Area Agency on Aging. So I'm going to kind of give a little bit of my background story and kind of give a little bit of a different perspective on how it shows, hearing loss shows differently for each person. And so Jason kind of gave y'all the background of the different types of hearing loss, the different technologies that are involved. And I wanted to kind of give a little bit of background on the, not really in detail, but some of the impact that it can have on people in general. So in my case, I was actually a normal birth, and this is my birthday here, December 13th. I was fine through until 3 months old, and I had, my family tells that I had vaccinations at a 3-month mark that initiated some really severe illness that caused a lot of neurological damage. So as a result of that, I have multiple disabilities, including muscles and hamstring tendon coordination problems in my leg, both legs actually. I have hearing loss impairment and vision problems. So all the neurological damage that inflicted resulted in pretty severe disabilities with the muscle coordination and the hearing loss, but the vision impairment are more on the mild side for me. So when I was growing up, much like Jason's story, they didn't, of course, this was in the 70s, and they didn't do the newborn hearing screenings in my case either. So they didn't know what, they knew I had some damage in the beginning, but they didn't know quite the extent. So I was going through hearing tests and all kinds of medical tests actually from the time I was 3 months old until all through school actually. I got my first pair of hearing aids at a place that was in the West 7th District now, and it's where I'm trying to think, it's the big giant complex down there on West 7th Street where all those shopping centers are across from Wendy's, and it was called Dickey's Hearing Aid Center. So I spent a lot of my time in there, them doing constant hearing evaluations. There was hearing boosts. If you'll visit an audiologist, you'll get probably placed in a hearing booth for your hearing test. It can be a little overwhelming as a kid sometimes, but I got used to that very quickly. And again, like Jason said, a lot of people with hearing loss do have communication issues. So I also was pulled out for speech therapy in grade school, but I was also pulled out for physical therapy as well on my legs because I was doing multiple surgeries, hospitalization, things like that. I also had multiple periodical visits to the hearing center and was in hearing aids up until 2013. Adolescence was a little difficult for me in that I had a lot of difficulties with school and a lot of anxiety issues. And part of that was being placed in the front of the classroom due to hearing loss because I didn't want to be the center of attention. Because a lot of children will get placed in the front of the class so they can hear better or see better or something like that. And I didn't quite like that. So in addition to adolescence anyway, kind of being a time of just, anxiety and trying to be, like your peers and sense of belonging and stuff, it just created some issues for me. There we go. Wasn't moving, so sorry about that. Okay, so in adulthood, after high school was over and after all of that, I actually dropped out of high school in 1991 and moved out at 18 or 19 years old. I don't remember when. But the good part about that is that I was able to assert my independence at that time. And I was needing that, which all people do, all young people do, want that independence. And I think it's a little harder for people with disabilities to try to gain that from parental figures. But I did go back to school and obtained my GED. And I think that was about 1993, I believe. After that, I decided, you're still young and trying to figure out where you're going with your life. And I decided to go back to school one class at a time to try to figure this out and try to do something with myself. So I took one class at a time and wound up going part-time. And in the meantime, I did find a part-time job in a library in the back office preparing books for circulation. And so I worked part-time and I went to school part-time. Very busy, but very rewarding. One class led to more, and I transferred to Texas Christian University, where I obtained my licensed Bachelor of Social Work in 2004, maybe 2003. I don't even know anymore. It's been so long. And then I went for about a 10-year, almost 10-year span, and went back to school in 2008 to get my Master's of Social Work license in 2011 at UTA. And finally, last year, almost 20 years after my original license, Bachelor of Social Work degree, I finally got my master's certification, my master's license, and almost 20 years later to the day. I didn't even realize that until the other day when I put it down on paper. So it's really important to understand that hearing loss can be difficult, but it's not impossible to achieve what you want to set out to do. You just have to do it with adaptations. And then the other part of this is that I also have the other disabilities I'm still dealing with. So I am on a walker. Some people have wheelchairs. I actually was on a walker after an ankle surgery that I had that did not heal quite correctly. And because of my already existing impairment, it just didn't quite I wasn't able to rehabilitate like I needed to after that. So I wound up keeping the walker. They actually, when I was a child, they actually told me at that time that I had cerebral palsy because everybody needed to have a label on it. Why, I'm not quite sure, but they did. So that's what they say. There are different theories on what caused the disabilities and the neurological damage. Some believe it was the childhood immunization. Some thought maybe it was because my dad, being a military man, he maybe contracted Agent Orange and passed it on to me. So the doctors really don't know. They took my case everywhere, up to New York, up to everywhere, trying to find the answers, and they couldn't come up with the answers. So I was seeing all the surgeons. I had hip braces on, all this stuff that children are very malleable, so they just adapt to whatever you're doing. So that's was the first part of my life. And then in 2013, I started having my hearing deteriorate. And I was in my 40s, which is a normal sign of more hearing loss. And in 2013, after going for some more testing, I was advised to get my first cochlear implant in my left ear. Now, the difference is that many people that go through cochlear implant surgery, it is a surgery that they go in, like Jason mentioned, that they put a magnet within your cochlear, inside your brain, that basically translates the sounds, and it travels inside that device, which basically transfers the signals to your brain. So it's simulating actual hearing, whereas the way I was explained, hearing aids will amplify the noise if you think about hearing aids. So they're picking up that signal from a microphone and transferring it in. Whereas cochlear implants are actually transferring that signal, traveling into the cochlear, and then transitioning the signal to the brain. So it's just a different way to do it. For a while, from 2013 to 2016, I had a hearing aid in my right ear and an implant in the left ear. Now, the funny thing is that many people have cochlear implants put in the better ear first, but that was opposite of me because of the way that my hearing was showing. I actually had more difficulties with the lower sounds, which was opposite of what many do. So they decided to put the implant in my left ear. So for about 3 years, I wore the hearing aid in the right and the implant in the left, but I had a lot of difficulty with that. I was still not used to the different technologies working, and I felt that they were working against each other instead of having a surround sound, I guess you would say, and a more consistent sound. I felt the different technologies were battling each other. So in 2016, I was able to get a second cochlear implant surgery in my right ear. And after that, everything took off. The sound was consistent. My brain was getting used to more better quality sound to me. And it's been amazing for me. People have told me multiple times that they would not even remotely know that I wore implants or had hearing loss if I didn't mention it. My husband tells me that I need to tell people right off the bat, I have a hearing impairment, and kind of give them the context of that ahead of time. I don't like bringing my disabilities to the forefront, even though it's fine. I'm just not that person, but I have been getting better at doing that. So my world just went crazy after that. So here's some fun little things. If you think about the noise in your environment, this is kind of what I thought was so interesting about it. The first sound I heard after surgery was my family's voices. Now, basically with a cochlear implant, and Jason showed you his, so I'll show you mine. This is mine. And you can see that this little magnet here on that edge is what connects to the back of our head. And that's where the surgery site is. And the magnet inside the head is just under the skin. So it will attach, and you can see, I can't see the back of my head, but hopefully y'all can see that. So that's how it transfers that sound. So the first thing I heard when I was what they call activated is my family's voices. It was so unusual, and there was so much inflection in it. I was just amazed. So I could detect all the pitches, I could detect inflection, I could just hear the tone of it. So it was really, really an interesting thing. The first environmental sound I heard was a clock ticking, drove me crazy. The clock in our house was so loud, and I can still hear it to this day in my head. So loud. And then my most enjoyable sound is the bird chirping in the morning. That warms my heart every day when I hear chirping birds outside. So that's really a fun little sound that I really am grateful to have hearing for. My most annoying sound was the toilet flushing. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding. That can't be what that sounds like. So, and still today, I mean, I'm still asking my husband, what is that noise? What is that? I don't know what that is. And I can detect if it's far away sometimes. I can detect if it's closer. Sometimes I just don't know what it is. And most of the time he answers, but sometimes it's like, okay, that is this. Move on. So, because most people just kind of go through life and they just don't even think about the noises they hear in their environment. And so those kind of things are what I'm really grateful to be able to hear. I can hear my dog nails, puttering on the floor, on the hardwood floor. So a lot of that is things that most people would not even think about, but those are the sounds that I really am grateful to be able to hear and enjoy. Sometimes it can get a little daunting when it's really loud, or a sudden noise will sometimes just cause me to jump out of my skin, but most of the time, I am just amazed at the sounds that I have been hearing and enjoying, and the fact that I can hear them when in the past I was not able to. At work, I was feet away from someone and was not able to understand just in back of me what somebody was saying. Now, typically with hearing impairments, some people do learn lip reading, and I was actually introduced to that concept in fourth grade when I had a deaf friend that taught me how to lip read, and we would get in trouble so much in school because we were lip reading with each other in class, and the teacher would catch us, and tell us to be quiet. So, but that was an interesting thing to learn because it really helped me further my communication with people in general. I still, sometimes people will think that I may not hear them, or that people with hearing loss may be kind of standoffish. But that's not the case. It's just that they may not be able to literally hear you. So, so that's something to keep in mind. So, that is kind of where I am leaving things. I am always willing to help employers, people with disabilities, learn to adapt. And resources, like Jason mentioned, are critical for people with hearing loss. Interpretation, video relay, all the technology that he's going to be introducing later in the sessions are really critical to enhancing communication in the strategies for that. So Marty, I don't know if there are any other questions, or if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to contact me. This is my number and my email address. I just wanted to kind of give more of a personal slant on it, and kind of just give everybody another perspective on hearing loss from my side. And just really keep in mind that it's really an individual thing. Each person experiences it differently. And just, if you have any questions and you need anything from me, I'm always available as well. So
Yeah, I saw the comment. Thank you, Kelley. Great stuff. I saw the comment from Teresa Dell, which I think just really goes to what you just said about the fact that it's like two different snowflakes. No two are alike. And I think I'm hearing that same thing from actually both of you in talking, and as you guys are emphasizing the importance of seeing a professional, having them evaluate you. I know Jason went over that a few times. Seeing a professional and really being evaluated on an individual basis for what you need, and and the importance of that. I did go ahead. There's something just popped up in the Q&A. Go ahead. Did you want to say something, Kelley?
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention that I did attend the support group meetings in the beginning when I first got my cochlear implant, and they were lifesavers for me because you are no longer isolated in that experience, but you understand that other people are there with you, and it's a great tool to have at your disposal. One of my friends I met in the group, I actually had as my maid of honor in my wedding. So those can become lifelong friendships for you and can be really helpful in your communication and in your growth as a person. It doesn't have to be you by yourself.
Yeah. So. And I didn't know there's a question, but the question has to do with the referral to the Deaf Action League as being a resource. But we'll discuss that here in just a second. Jason, did you have something you wanted to add before we got to that?
I think I covered everything, but
Yeah.
some people, some people ask me, what's your hearing loss like, or how much do I have? And I was looking for my audiogram, which I can share, to explain it briefly, to give people an idea of what it looks like, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Hold on, just a second. Let me if I can we still have a few minutes. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and let you share again, and then I'll come back to share because we have some. I have to go over the CU stuff before we go. But you should be able to share if you like. We had part of just to speak to this. We were trying to work this out on a for a series of these things, and so some of these were in topics that were to be covered, and so some of these slides have kind of jumped in and out of today's presentation, but we have some time, and that's great. Go for it, Jason.
So as you see, this is my audiogram, and CI stands for cochlear implant. So, and then these O's and X's and O's over here is representing the right ear. And same thing for the left ear. Actually, she made a mistake. So the left ear is O's, and then the right or left ear are the X's. So every time I hear a beep, I press the button or I raise my hand, and they do it where they keep doing the beeps until I actually hear that one tone. And that's when they mark it on the graph. As you can see on my left ear, I start about 55 decibels at 250 hertz. And then it goes down lower and lower and up a little bit. So so anything below the line is what I can hear. Anything above the line is what I cannot hear at all. So where the hearing aids are at, I started up here, and as you can see, there's a big difference in how much it can allow me to hear. But sometimes when you get lower on that graph, the harder for the hearing aid to amplify those sounds. And sometimes when you get so severe towards the very bottom, the hearing aids don't do much anymore. So that's where the cochlear implant can be a great benefit. Now, as you can see, when I had my hearing tested with the CI, I am just across the board, and that's just on my right ear, and I didn't have the hearing aid on at all. So I took the hearing aid out or turned it off, and it's just straight across the board. And I was told that was expected when you have a cochlear implant. Now on the other slide, or on the other one, the left ear, you can see the letter B is a boy going across. That's bimodal. That's wearing two devices at the same time and had it tested as well. Again, all across the board. So that's not bad. Big improvement from where the hearing aid. So this is just a left ear. That's what I currently have. But when you combine it together, it's all across 25, 30 decibels. Now down here, it shows the speech recognition discrimination at 20 decibels at 64% for the right ear, and on the left ear, 68% at 75. But when you come to the CI and a hearing aid, see how much that increases my ability to understand speech from 64 to 84 or 68 to 84. Big increase, big difference. So I am thankful for this technology that has helped me personally. A lot of the cochlear implant recipients have a dramatic improvement in their speech and understanding over time. It's not overnight, but over time, after I get adjustment several times, this is where they want you to get tested and should do it annually, and then see where you're at. So, and I had audio verbal therapy as well when I had the cochlear implant put in, and after about a month of healing activation, then I went through that therapy sessions about 5-6 times, and then the audiologist recommended that I turn this hearing aid off and just only train on the one that I have. So my auditory memory is being exercised and trained. So so that took time, and I still do it to this day. I'll just take this off because I like to remind myself, how much can I really understand just on my right ear? That's it.
Two things. Number one about this, if I could. Number one would be um, actually, I was going to ask you questions about your chart. Hold on. Can you put that back up?
Oh, you want me to turn it back on?
Yeah, just put it back up. I'm sorry. I was trying to ask. Well, I'll ask you one question while you put it back up. Is this the kind of report you would get from just the audiologist, or if you went to Costco or Sam's or one of the other places, would they give you a report similar to this?
Okay, so that's a great question. So for the hearing aid or for the hearing test, strictly for the hearing aids, yes. They can give you something like this. They'll, when you go in and you hear the beeps, and they'll do the X's and O's, and they'll give you they should give you a copy of the audiogram. They have to. And then they'll also give you a recommendation of what type of hearing devices that would fit best for your hearing loss. When it comes to a cochlear implant, there are audiologists that specializes in the field of doing this. So not every audiologist that you see can do a cochlear implant. They're more specialized in training to do that. Now, so there are some, I've met some cochlear implant specialists that just do that only. They can do hearing aids, but they only focus just this one. Or some of them do both. For me, I have an audiologist that does both because she fitted my hearing aid and the CI. So I wanted that because I didn't want two different audiologists to do two different things. That's too much. So yeah, that's a great question.
And so now on this report, Jason, if a person had natural hearing with zero hearing loss, would it be at zero on the scale at the top, or is where you are with the cochlear implants, is that back to what a normal person would hear without any hearing loss? I didn't say that's a bad terminology. I'm so sorry, but a person without any hearing loss, where would they be?
That is a great question. So every person's hearing loss is not exactly the same, even if you didn't have any hearing loss. The hearing loss, perfect hearing loss, is like I think it's from 20 decibels going up from 0, 10, and 20, or maybe 25, 30. That's normal hearing range. So you can go from 0 and have that little chart going up and down. But anything from like 30 to 50, that's when you might have mild hearing loss, and it just has it categorized. This audiogram doesn't show that, but I have a sample one that will give you like the highlights, or it might say on the side where you have mild, moderate, moderate to severe, severe, and profound. So you're not going to have just 0. That's not the real world perfect hearing, but it's a range in that category. What's perfect hearing?
So
to give you your own answer, go get a hearing test to see where you're at.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. Most people get confused. It's a myth that they think it's just like glasses when you wear glasses. It is not. Like Kelley and I, we both have hearing loss or deaf practically. But again, her chart will show a different level. Her speech discrimination might be higher than mine or lower. I don't know. Never seen it. So that is something I always love to compare, because that's just a conversation starter. It really is. And sometimes that helps a person to understand why.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Kelley, you want to say something?
Well, and I was just going to add that I could not find my hearing audiogram from when I had mine done, but my ranges were much low on the lower level. So They told me very early on that I had very profound hearing loss. So in that chart that Jason showed you, my ranges are going to be even probably much lower down. And I'm thinking even in one hearing test, it was pretty much off the chart. So I wasn't hearing anything.
You should,
So
you should,
it just
you should get a
depends on the
copy
person.
from you can get a copy of it if they still
Yeah.
have it and
Yeah.
compare.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, but on your chart, on the left-hand side from where I'm looking at it here on the paper, on the left-hand side of the paper, they did the cochlear implants, but it looked as if, I mean, it looked like your hearing loss on both ears was about the same, but if anything, it looked like it might have been a little bit worse on the side that they used the hearing aid, not on the side they did the cochlear implant. I didn't know if there was a reason for that.
Well, I was born as a premature baby, so that would be the cause of, because I had high fever and all that. But anyway, that would be my reason for that. But to
Yeah.
answer your question, yes, I do have a slight difference in my it's like my left ear
Yeah.
in the 1,000 decibel or I'm sorry, frequency. I had a slight lowered towards like 90 decibels where it met. It was a little bit worse than my right ear, but practically the same.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just interesting to me that the hearing aid, which to me from the outside, and I'm learning as we go, the cochlear implant would be a more intrusive, more severe response, if you would like to, if that makes sense, and yet that ear didn't seem quite as bad as the other ear, which they did the hearing aid, which would seem to be a less severe, less intrusive solution.
Yeah, and then you also have to get a cochlear implant. It's not as easy as you get like a hearing aid. A hearing aid, we say here you go, you can have it. You can just buy it right there and then. Cochlear implant, you have to go through a criteria process.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to see an audiologist that specializes in that. They give you a hearing test to see where you're at, and if you are eligible based on the FDA guidelines, then you can go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's more to it. That was just an interesting thing, but thank you very much. That was very, very good. Very good information. I'm very glad you shared that. I am going to go, if we could, real quick over the CEUs. If you all would look while I'm doing that, there is a question in the Q&A. I think it may have had to do with resources, but there may be another one. I'm not sure. But for those of you that are joining us today for CEUs or for a certificate of attendance, we were set up to provide CEUs for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors in the state of Texas. We're also set up to do certificates of attendance. But if you have a different license in Texas or you have a license outside of Texas, please feel free to go through the process if you'd like and get a certificate. You're more than and you're more than welcome to provide it to whoever is your licensing board is. But there's no guarantee that they would take that. As I said earlier, I have had one or two send me an email asking me for more information about what was covered in the course, for them to come to their own conclusion of whether it was acceptable or not. And you're more than welcome to have them do that. Send me something if you'd like. Today's webinar is worth 1.5 hours of CEU credits. You must have attended the entire live webinar and stuck with us till the 11:30, which we're getting close to hitting. But you must also complete the Google evaluation survey. As you close out of Zoom, it should ask you if you'd like to take a short survey. That would take you to the Google evaluation survey. If you don't get that, I know there's pop-up blockers and things. The survey will also be, the link to the survey will also be emailed to you in the follow-up email as well. And I'm going to ask Jason, and I meant to say this earlier, if you could send me the link to the to the YouTube that you showed, and I'd like to include that link in the follow-up email as well, so you all have that as well. And if you'd like to add your cochlear slide, that's up to you. I know it's personal. There's some personal stuff on there. I could surely set up a link and include that in there as well if you'd like. But you will have Jason's and Kelley's contact information in the follow-up email. Please complete the evaluation survey. We leave it open for 1 week. We rarely open it up for anyone after that. And I'm going to say very rarely, because in almost no cases we have. It's just too difficult for us when we have the kind of numbers we're working with for us to be dealing with CEU issues one person at a time. So please make sure if you don't get my email or something, you reach out to me, but make sure you've completed it by the 18th. Give me about a month to get those certificates out to you once we get past that date. Did one of you want to answer the question in there? I
wanted to.
Oh, there it is.
So to answer Christy's question about the Deaf Action Center in Fort Worth and Dallas for advocacy, I actually do. I refer often to Deaf Action Center. However, I understand, and Jason may be able to tell me further and give us more information on that. But I believe that the Fort Worth office has closed, and they may be working remotely from that. Is that correct, Jason?
So Deaf Action Center in the past, they have 2 different contracts. One was the technology specialist like me, and the other one's the access specialist that focus on advocacy and all that. So what Deaf Action Center does not have anymore is the technology specialist contract.
Okay.
However, the Deaf Action Center still does advocacy part. For Fort Worth, that's Sheila Grady, and Dallas is Bianca Walker. Okay. So they still do that, 2 different areas. Now for my position for Dallas, Access Buying out of Austin actually has that contract for technology, and they also cover the Austin area.
Very good. And we'll try to cover in the get information on. I know Jason showed you the regions, but hopefully I can get you the information on who the contact would be for each of the regions, so that you'll have that, and we'll have that as well. So we'll work on that. And then Jason, Kelley, I want to thank you both very much. It was really good information.
Yeah. Just as an FYI, the agencies try to work together. So a lot of it is just giving resources for both of us, I think. Just giving information, education, and resources. Whereas the Deaf Action Center, I think, actually does the assistive technology along with Jason in his role. So our ADRC is just for information and referral assistance for the ADRC. So that's all that we do. We help people with applications. We help people with, finding resources in their specific community, but we all try to work together to meet the need. So.
And it's important to say now, and Jason works directly with clients and communities. I know he's gone out to many senior communities and worked with them, and I think you do senior centers too, don't you, Jason?
So I serve all people, all ages. So, but I primarily do focus on the seniors. That's just my specialty, my area of focus. But it doesn't have to be just that. It's everybody actually. So in my role, I focus on like as a technology specialist, I help people with resources, as you saw. If you are working and you have hearing loss, or if you know someone that has hearing loss or deaf, I could do what's called a workplace assessment and evaluate to see what their challenges are in the workplace, and then give a recommendation on what technology they need to be able to perform their essential job duties. And then not only that, but I talk about mobile apps. What are the mobile apps that can help you for communication access or using a telephone, all that good stuff. So I do all sorts of things.
Yeah, and we're hoping to through the series to cover many of those things as we move forward in this series, and that was the reason why there's just so much information. We wanted to do this in a series so we can get to you more information. And so if I'm going to move to the next slide real quick, I know some people have had to drop off after our time, but just so you know, our next webinar is next Wednesday, same time, next Wednesday. And we're going to work on some of this other information that you guys have talked about. And then we plan on doing more than just the two, just so you know. We have several kind of lined up. We just haven't finished the detail for those. But thank you all for joining us today. Jason, thank you so much. Kelley, thank you so much. It was very, very, very good. We certainly appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. And please help us share the word. We like to, we're doing this because we'd like to help as many people as possible. And so please help us spread the word to other people that might be interested, and hopefully, and then we also record these, and this will go up on our YouTube channel, but it's going to be a few weeks before we get that up there. I had run into a snag earlier in the year and it still got me behind, so I'm trying to play catch up there. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.